Let's move my screen up here. For me, it's the start of the weekend. Not that that really matters in a way, because the kind of work that I do, it really doesn't matter if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday and Sunday. It's just another day. However, for most people, the weekends got meaning. I know when I was in corporate America, it had some meaning, not always, because I worked in the oil industry, and the theory was that, hey, we pay you really good money, and if we want to send you overseas on a Sunday or a Saturday or at 24 hours notice, that's just the way it goes. What has this got to do with today's reading? Well, it does have something, and I'll explain that why later. The reading today is from Reverend Dr. Petra Weldes, and she's actually the co-spiritual director, and she has been for a long, long time, of our center in Dallas, which is actually called CSL Dallas. Oh, there you are then. And she's very well known in the Center for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, Religious Science community. And I know of her. I don't personally know her, but I know of her, so her name is very familiar to me. I remember when I went back, she wrote today's stuff back in September of 2021, and this is what she had to say for the introduction to those guys. The reason I'm bending down like this is because I'm looking at the screen here that I'm on my computer, and then I've also got my iPad here, and some of the stuff's on my iPad, and it says life is a moving, breathing thing. We have to be willing to constantly evolve. Perfection is constant transformation. That was by Nia Peoples, who's quite well known. I forgot to let them up before I started this. Reverend Dr. Petra Weldes, she is a teacher, speaker, leadership coach, retreat facilitator, lots and lots of stuff. Her passions are science of mind, nature, travel, meditation, writing, children, art, sustainability, music, social justice, science, and conscious politics. I know social justice must be high on her list, because I know CSL Dallas social justice is really high on their list. So I know that for sure. She's been around in leadership positions at Centers for Spiritual Living for 25 years, which is longer than I've been involved in Science of Mind. And if you want to reach her, she was actually back in November 2021, and probably still is, available through csldallas.org, csldallas.org. And you can look her up there. Lots more stuff. Anyway, she called this reading back then, and of course now, Wu Wei, the non-doing of being. First quote is from Ursula Burns. I'll talk about her in a little minute. I want to stop transforming and just start being. Ursula Burns was the first Black woman to head a Fortune 500 company. And it was, and actually she followed another woman as head of, I think it's Xerox actually. Yeah, it was Xerox. What I'd like to say on this is, I want to stop transforming and just start being. And I wish the whole human race would be like that. Why? What do I mean by that? Well, it's perfectly simple. At some stage in our future evolution, I would be able to just come and do this reading. Ursula Burns, oh yeah, she was the CEO of Xerox from 2009 to 2017. And it will be irrelevant that she was a woman, and it will be irrelevant that she was Black. In other words, I am looking forward to when we as a race have transformed to the fact that just a person is really, really recognized just for who they are as a person. And the fact that they're one particular race, one particular gender, or maybe no gender, won't matter anymore. That we will just totally accept it. But we got to transform individually before we can transform as a race. Is that a long way in the future? I don't know. But I tell you this, as I spoke about the other day, once we reach critical mass, it will just accelerate. It really will. So my hope is that we can just recognize a person for who they are. And it really doesn't matter whether they're American, whether they're female, whether they were born in this country or they weren't born in this country. It will all be irrelevant. They will just be human beings who've done great things. So, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine as well. But that's just my view. I perceive a world where everyone is recognized for who they are based on how they are. How's that? And it will come. Ernest Thomas says, see the desire as an already accomplished fact and rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results, never wondering, never becoming anxious, never being hurried or worried. And that was from the Science of Mind textbook. And she actually quotes the paragraph. It's on page 289, paragraph 3. And that will be from the 1938 edition. Unless it states otherwise, Science of Mind quotes are always from the 1938 edition and not the 1926 edition. Okay? This is Reverend Petra. She says, I speak from deeply personal experience when I say most of us learn to measure our value by accomplishment and productivity. This kept me in perpetual motion, always doing something to prove my worth. Sometimes even our desire for transformation is just a thinly veiled desire to accomplish. Our spiritual path, however, teaches us that all outcomes begin with a cause. And this cause is not a doing, but a beingness. Coming across the concept of Wu Wei from Taoism helped me understand what that means. Wu Wei means non-doing, often translated as inaction. This can sound like an invitation to fall into magical thinking, yet this concept is key to the noblest kind of action, that which springs from spiritual alignment. This is what is meant when we focus on being, to be on the inside of the quality or spiritual truth that we wish to demonstrate, rather than trying to figure out what to do to make it happen. This is an embodiment of the already have received mental atmosphere, being someone who does, is, or has the outcomes we choose to express. Our mental atmosphere becomes the mold for the law to guide us toward and attract us to the path to manifestation. Then our actions are confident and assured this is true, whether we're manifesting money, health, love, or an experience of oneness. All right, so how does this apply to us? Well, going back to the Holmes quote, he's talking about when we're using spiritual mind trainment or affirmative prayer, if you want, when he says, see the desire as an already accomplished fact and rest in perfect confidence, peace, and certainty, never looking for results, never wondering, never becoming anxious, never being hurried or worried. So what he's saying is that, number one, it's not our job to figure out how things are going to come about. So if you are trying to manifest $10,000, say, it isn't your job to figure out where that money is going to come from or how it's going to come. It's your job to simply know that the $10,000 is an accomplished fact. And it's your job to be in belief about that. And belief is thought plus feeling. So when you have the thought of $10,000, when you totally feel that that $10,000 has already come, then it's an accomplished fact. And we can practice Wu Wei, the non-doing of being, because we don't have to do anything other than sit and know that it's going to happen. It isn't magical thinking. It's connecting with the source of all being and allowing the source of all being to produce the results that we want. So that is the main message today. In other words, it's really an invitation for us to believe and keep practicing believing that what we pray for using affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, is an accomplished fact. And can we always get in that frame of mind and that knowingness? No, because we're human beings. Are there people on the planet who can do that? I have no idea. Could Jesus do it? 99.9% of the time? Yes, he could, according to the Gospels. There's only one time, actually, where he didn't truly accomplish something the very first time. And that was when he was curing someone who was blinded. He put mud on their eyes and he said to the guy, or woman, I think it was a guy actually, now what do you see? And he said, I see stick figures. And Jesus prayed again, I guess, and the guy had perfect vision. But by and large, Jesus is the great example of how to come about this. He, as we said many times, he never, ever once asked God to grant him a favor. He just said, Father, that was his expression for the divine. Father, I know you always hear me. And as we said many times, he didn't say, hey, would you bring Lazarus out of the tomb? Or Lazarus, would you mind coming out? No, he said, Lazarus, come out. And the stone is rolled away. And the guy who'd been in the tomb for 3 days walks out. Probably with difficulty because he'd be bound all around. So he would kind of like a mummy, you know. So there's our great example. So thanks very much to Reverend Petra for bringing this to mind again, reminding us that ours is not the doingness of bringing things about. Ours is the beingness of being in that knowingness. And that knowingness is the cause of what's coming about. So that's all I gotta say. My doing is guided by being. How about that? I embody spiritual truth and let it move me in the world with quiet confidence and faith. I embody spiritual truth and let it move me in the world with quiet confidence and faith. So far, I haven't found a suitable reading that directly fits in with Murphy the Human Whisperer so far, but I will before the end of the month. And if I don't, well, I'll just read it anyway. So could very well be August 31st when I read it. So that's a reason to keep coming back. Murphy, it's a really cool column and it's only every other month. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. It's a little bit cooler today, but it's still hot out there. We're still getting heat warnings. And if you live in parts of the world where you're enjoying cooler weather, fantastic. Enjoy it. We will eventually, but it's not now. So until next time. Reverend Liz will be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I'll be back tomorrow about 5. Namaste.